Hey, and welcome back to the Content is Profit podcast. It's me, Luis. Today I'm here by myself. And today I had an incredible session in the community with Dara Allred. And she was a guest in the podcast a couple episodes ago, which she talked about the most powerful consumer on earth. So I highly recommend go back to that episode and check it out. And she has this amazing community full of women and amazing entrepreneurs, and they needed help a little bit with their publishing frameworks and how to be consistent, how to monetize, and all the stages. I was actually going through the recording earlier today, and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a section there where we start the session and we get before the 6 stages of it, where we talk about the amazing opportunity that we have today based on historic facts in the history of media, and also these amazing stats that are preventing a lot of people from executing. This first part of the conversation is where we dive deep into a framework that we call the publishing pyramid, and we give some examples for people to get unstuck and move things forward. What you're about to hear is that first part, the first 20 minutes of that section that we had with Sarah. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you take a lot of notes. I hope you can take action with this. Let me know in the comments. By the way, we're going to leave the links right in the description. All you got to do is scroll down. If you want to go in there and receive their resources, all you got to do is click that link. We'll get that email and then we'll send the resources that we mentioned. There's a worksheet and there's a presentation as well that we can send you. And also we do have a program, but more on that later. Enjoy.
Hey, I'm Luis. And I'm Luis. And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
I am so excited. Okay. You're amazing. So I am going to really tell you really one important thing. These are my favorite people on earth that you are teaching, who are spreading messages about family, about God, about life, about health, about finance, about just life-changing topics. And so you are so critical being here today, because we all, myself included, need help getting that message out there faster, more effectively, and not being scared to publish every day. And so let's go.
Awesome.
Host. Ready?
Let's go.
Let's
Who's
go.
ready? What's up, guys? Nice meeting you. Do we have time to go around a little bit? Maybe get to know each other. Damien, is that correct? Yeah, did I say it right? Yeah, nice to meet you. Kristen, nice to meet you. Michaela, Lori, is it Ember? Ember, did I say it right? I have a funny accent, so if you haven't noticed, I'm from Venezuela. I call it funny. My wife calls it sexy. It is what it is. Brittany, Meg, and Erin, nice to see you all. Nice to see everybody in the Facebook group. But yeah, I'm super excited and honored. Sarah, thank you for having me in your group. We've had an amazing interview with you, which you taught us about the most powerful consumer on earth. And I'm like, oh my God, tell me more. Super stoked to be here and share our message. So I do have a presentation. I speak very fast. We have a lot to cover today. And the goal today is to show you what's possible and then bring it back to execution mode. Cool? Awesome. Okay. So there's going to be some resources that I mentioned in the presentation that I'm happy to share with every single one of you. There's a link in the chat that I just put in there. You want to click in there, put your email. As soon as we hop off, we go and we share all the resources. So be the presentation and something that we mention in there. So you don't have to like write everything down. If you'd like to write things down, perfect. But just opt in there and then we'll be following up with the things that we mentioned. Sometimes we go off the cuff. So be like, Luis, you told me that you were going to share this template. Perfect. Send it in my email and then I'll share that template as well. It's happened in the past where we're like, oh boy. Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. So just recently we were in this presentation. We ran part of this presentation at PodFest. It's like one of the biggest podcasting communities out there. We were in Orlando and the feedback was absolutely positive. So I'm very stoked to share this with you. It's like our two main frameworks that we use. Who love frameworks? Raise your hand if you love frameworks. So you're like, yeah. You're like, no, Luis, that's too boring. I promise I'll make it super fun. I promise I'll make it super fun. But this is literally the two frameworks that we've used first to reach our first 6 figures just on publishing. And then second, to make multiple 6 figures with this offering our service on the back end. Try to give me a little bit of background on your side as well, like B2C. If you're B2B, this applies as well. But as we move forward, if you have questions, drop them in the chat and we'll be able to do that. Sarah did warn me that we have 45-minute chunks. So I play soccer, we have 45-minute halves. So what we'll do is we'll do a 45-minute half on this as fast as possible. And then any other questions and follow up as we see fit. So do you guys see the whole presentation? I'm just going to leave it on this mode without too craziness. So, cool. All right. So why, how, and what to publish? blueprint for monetizing your content out of overwhelm into momentum. Somebody, a little birdie told me that's the saying. And I love it because, fun fact, backend service that we offer is called content momentum. Don't tell anybody. So anyways, congratulations. Today's goal is how do we understand to build your business publishing habit, leverage it for revenue, and commit to action. So when we decided to do this and commit to actual action is when we actually saw the results. So start thinking, right? Based on our resources, how can we take this into action today? So let me minimize this. Cool.
I'm
All right. So
going to interrupt you, Luis, already.
Absolutely.
You say business publishing habit, and I'm like, oh yeah, I don't have that. I don't have that. So I'm like, right time, right place. Like publishing is not a habit in my world right now. So I'm sure I'm not alone in that. This is exciting. Let's go.
Yeah, we'll be sharing some fun things. But like the great philosopher Gary Vaynerchuk says, the biggest thing I can tell you is that you have to make as much content as possible. This was the message that I heard for 3 years without ads before we even published our first piece of content in our company. 3 years. So raise your hand if you've heard this from not only the great philosopher, but also our coaches, our friends, or people are like, yeah, okay, cool. So more content, more brand, it's how you grow, publish. That's basically what we heard every single time. Just go ahead and put some content out there. So again, put this for obviously everybody in the room, but if you're looking to build a publishing system as solid as the rock, you want to have a long-term sustainable success rather than just a quick win. We were those guys that were chasing the quick win. We started with bro marketers. My brother was like watching Lambos in Instagram. It's like, I want that. We now drive Jeep Wranglers and have kids and all that stuff. So anyways, we were looking for that quick win and we certainly realized that's not how things work, right? So here's a timely timeline that shows today's huge opportunity. In 1704, we had the first newspaper ad, right? 1800s to 1920, we have the rise of ad agencies, magazines, newspapers. So this distribution channel starts to come alive. 1938, radio ad revenue increases and surpasses magazine ad revenue, right? On 41, we had the first TV ad. And 91, we have the rise of TV ads. But on 91, the interwebs, the WWWs go live. And then 94, the first banner ad actually comes alive, right? So 94 till now, it's like the land of opportunity to put a message out there. There's so much opportunity, so much out there, right? But it can also be very overwhelming, right? So here are fun stats. These are coming from, I think with Google, HubSpot, Curata, SEMrush, Content Marketing Institute. 41 of local businesses depend on social media to drive revenue. Who believes that? I certainly did. I come from the small business world, right? I used to manage fitness studios, and this was like our every single day. Managers were like, you guys have to create content. And guess what? Nothing was created, right? Content marketing costs 62% less than traditional marketing and generates about 3 times as many leads. So if we know that it generates more leads and more money, then why we're not doing it, right? 53% of shoppers say that they always do research before they purchase to ensure they're making their best possible choice. Just 2 days ago, we ended up going to a Mexican restaurant for my wife's birthday. I was Googling the heck out of that restaurant, man. I was like, what kind of rice? Is it spicy food? I don't like spicy Mexican. For some reason, that's crazy. But anyways, I'm like, do they serve, what kind of food? So we're always like searching for that. Short form videos, TikTok, Reels, and live streaming were the most effective formats in social media in 2022. I am pretty sure we haven't found the stat in 2023, but it's on the right. And then 47% of B2B buyers consume 3 to 5 pieces of content prior to engaging with a person. In B2C consumers, this is higher. So just think about that. Pretty crazy. 84% of people expect brands to produce content. It's not a thing that we should do now. It's a thing that we actually have to do now. If we exist, we have to do it. Yet 81% of companies believe their content marketing efforts are not successful at all. 67% of marketers do not have a documenting content marketing strategy. Do we have a documenting content marketing strategy in this room? I see some like, oh my gosh, no, it's okay. It's okay. We did not have it for 5 years, and that's okay. We need a starting point. Okay, cool. The top 2 reasons B2B marketers don't plan to develop a content marketing strategy are either we have a small team or we have no time. Who feels that way? I definitely did. I was like, I do not have enough time to actually go ahead and do this. So this is just some graphs. At the very top, producing enough content, 64% is the top challenges. Like even if we don't produce, we still like grab. I think, by the way, Chris here, Sarah, sorry. Sometimes my English is not very good looking, so I'll try to keep it under control. But producing enough content, right, it tends to be the main problem. Yep, producing it alone in general, right? Now we have to think about the video content. Is it changing to have different formats? What do we actually have to do? All these things, right? Again, we see more of producing the content that engages, lack of budget, right? I don't think I have the team. I don't think I have the capacity and so on. So Who can relate? I raise my hand. I still relate at some degree with this, right? So from 1 to 10, how confident do you feel about how to go from an idea, right? Your story, all these things that you have in your head, that your message, right? To money. Put it in the chat. I want to see it. Like 0, like from 1 to 10. I want to see the answers coming through. 5, 8. Let's go. Okay, we're very confident. All right, Sarah, challenge accepted. Here we go. Here we go. Awesome. And 6, so kind of halfway through. Awesome. Lori, 8. Awesome. Okay, so perfect. Cool. Now that those 5, 6, 8s, and 7s are going to be like 10, just so you know, after this, it's going to happen. Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. All right, cool. I went ahead. Okay. Bam. Okay, so how do we actually go to this? Quick 30-second introduction of who am I. So in 1999, this was me as a baby. I was born. In 93, this is my brother and business partner, FONZI. He was actually born that way with that long hair. Crazy, right? 2015, we're out there with like smaller businesses. We're recording content for them. We're recording courses. We're helping them with their funnels, like all these fun things for small businesses. In 2017, we actually founded the company legally. So for 2 years, we're doing this thing on the fly, freelancers. Let's do this. 2017, this actually is a reality. In 2019, this is my brother's room at the time. We start a podcast. This was, we call it Brews and Bros. So thank God that did not continue because we will be drunk right now. We publish 3 episodes a week, which is crazy, but we call that the porn set. We had the bed and the light, and then his girlfriend just walked in and she's like, what are you guys doing? I'm like, you don't want to know. So later in 2019, I quit my job and we go to our first like mastermind. So we invest in our own education, right? In 2020, we go to PodFest as photographers for one of the speakers. And we're like, this is a great opportunity to learn feedback about podcasting and long form content, right? And we decided to actually launch the show. Then later in 2020, COVID happened and all our businesses around town closes. That was 80% of our sales, monthly sales. And at the time, keep in mind, it was just me and my brother at the time freelancing. We had no teams. And I freak out. Those were actually pictures of my face that day that we received the call. So more later, again, my English is not very good looking. We decide to start our podcast live. So far, we've done more than 400 episodes. We're part of the Hotspot Network. So that was a day, literally, that was the day that everything changed, right? And then today we have the show in the Hotspot Podcast Network. We've collaborated with some awesome brands and we talk to awesome people like you. So quick story, awesome. So how do we actually put this into action, Luis? So remember all the stats. I'm not even going to repeat it. It's very depressing. But today we have some goals, right? We want to go from not successful to successful strategy. We want to have a documented system and strategy. So I hope your notebooks are ready. Have a system that works even with no team and helps you save a ton of time. And then at the end of the day, we all want to make some moolah, right? Some money. All right. So the blueprints, ready? Ready? Yeah. Awesome. I see some thumbs up. Good. Cool. Am I going too fast? Can you understand me? Okay, here we go. Okay, so we're big fans of principles over tactics. We followed tactics for so long with no results. We were so confused. We had no idea where to start. We tried this for a couple of days and it's like, it doesn't work and so on. And it wasn't until we finally accepted that we have to go over principles over tactics that everything started to fall. So there's 2 main frameworks that we've followed over the last 3 years. We started executing and then they started to uncover themselves as we started executing. Now they're clearer than ever, right? We went from publishing just me and my brother for 10 minutes a day to now running a very successful content team, and we provide fractional content teams to other companies. So these are the 2 main frameworks that we utilize with every single person. So we're going to go over those right now real quick. So, okay.
Luis, I have a question for you right out of the gate. Okay. But back to your slide when you're talking about how principles are more important than tactics. I think it's way important for us to recognize why our brains are drawn to tactics. It's because it doesn't force you. It doesn't actually force you to stand out. Tactics are reliant upon the trend of the day and are reliant upon algorithms and other people's control. And the brilliant thing about Luis is he's going to teach you how to lean in to your genius, so that regardless if reels are the big thing or if podcasts are the big thing or blog are the big thing, you will not only survive, but you will continue to stay ahead, staying in that space. And we do the same thing in the Attract method, where we're teaching principles, actually how you plug those in every day, ebbs and flows with the market. And so keep in mind that temptation of tactics and beating the algorithm is secondary to the concepts I'll teach you. So you're in the right place.
Thank you, Sarah. And it'll be funny. We have parts in our story, which I'll share in a bit, but that we deviate from this and we try the hot tactics of the day, and we pull up big time. And that's when we go down and we're like, okay, let's just go back to the principles and foundations that we were able to develop. So these two, hopefully today will work you. If you haven't, click the link put in the chat, because there's a worksheet in there that we'll send as well. So you don't have to like go through it like super fast. Then that way you can go revisit that worksheet and do it for your own companies and your own teams, right? Okay, here we go, for real. So the first one, we call this the publishing pyramid, right? So we actually came up with this, Sarah, in an interview with Catherine Jones. She was interviewing and she was like, guys, how do you see content, high level, right? How do you guys actually see this? And this is the thing that came out of our mouth that day. And we were like, after 8 minutes, we're like, whoa, this is very powerful. And it really became the main framework that we've been sharing all of the time, right? So these 4 elements are the things that we got to understand first, and then we have to execute from the bottom up. So at the time, keep in mind, which is me and my brother, I think we were trying to hire like a video editor externally. And we're trying to figure out this thing of like, how can we actually scale our content? At the time we were doing 45 lives, which is a Facebook live straight for 45 days, which sounds very intimidating for a lot of people, but that was our way to like prime the content. How can we like get unstuck from not publishing? And that was our way. At the very top, what we did initially was we got to understand our resources. Sometimes we put our sites into outside publishers. So right now, Alex Hormozi is big everywhere. They're like, oh my gosh, like the content is genius. I want to have Alex Hormozi type of reels. Cool. He's been publishing for 7 years, guys. So we got to understand what are the resources, the time, the scale at which they're operating. Their content team, they pay $50,000 a month for their content team, right? We got to understand that. Now we got to understand the capacity. What's their capacity? Obviously a $50,000 team capacity is going to be way higher maybe that a business that have a virtual assistant, or a business that even doesn't have a virtual assistant, right? We got to understand that. And then how consistent can they be? If you see Grant Cardone, Alex Hormozi, all these amazing entrepreneurs, Gary Vee, they're publishing 24/7, multiple times a day. They hire the volume, they hire the frequency, they push. But we got to understand that our capacity might be a little bit different at the very beginning. We can build to that, but it might be very different. And then at the bottom is our messaging, right? What are our stories? How are we inspiring people? What are the solutions that we're sharing with every single person, right? So once we understand that and we face the truth that we're not going to be able to execute like that, right? Then we can start building back up with our message, with our consistency, our commitment, our capacity, and then our resources. So we'll dive into one of these. So our first message, you're one step away from finding your message, but you can't find it alone. We call this #golden boulders. If you're in our show, if you listen to our show, this is great value. We even have a gong sound for it, but quality of the message over quality of the production, 100%. So this is what I meant when we first started. We said, okay, we understood everything. We don't have the time because we're executing and we're fulfilling for clients. What's the time that I actually can allocate to produce and publish together? For us, was 10 minutes a day. That's all we had, right? And we're like, okay, based on that capacity, what's the message I'm going to share? And we decided that it was going to be a Facebook Live, that we're going to share a story of something that we learned today, and then we're going to apply it to our business. And it was all done in under 10 minutes, which I'll show in a bit, right? Consistency. With consistency comes opportunity. The more consistent we are, the more frequent we are, the more opportunities and eyes and conversations that we can have with people that actually interact with this, right? Out of sight, out of mind, out of business. We got to be present. So how do we actually build a system where we can be present multiple times a day or even one time a day, right? Based on our capacity. That is our commitment with 45 Live was once a day. Our commitment with Content is Profit, which is our show, is 3 times a week, right? So depending on what we choose to publish, what is that commitment to consistency? And nothing has broken that, not even Hispanic holidays. I promise you, it's been amazing because that's like the one thing, right? All right, capacity. So you can do anything once you stop trying to do everything. And that was like the last 3 years, previous 45 Live, that we tried every single tactic in the book. I promise you, we have all the books from all the marketers, and we decided to try everything, right? So our perceived capacity is not our real capacity. We thought we could do way more sometimes, right? And then we overextend ourselves, and then we don't end up doing anything. And then sometimes we think it's too little to actually go and take action. So those 10 minutes of Facebook Lives a day change your life. After 15 days, we ended up having an opportunity, a 6-figure opportunity that came through. And that's what really started the business. So I promise you, even if it's 10 minutes a day, there's some results that we can get there, right? And then after that, after we figure that out, it's like, how do we assign resources, right? How do we get those resources? Like, how do we make that money? And then how do we reassign it to the system so we can continue to do this? So growth is never by chance, test, then invest. So frequency comes into play. The more messages that we put out there, the more we're going to see if it resonates, it doesn't resonate. And then scaling is directly correlated to the resources successfully invested in the right processes. So for us, after a few messages, right, on the Facebook Live, for example, this, by the way, happened almost 4 years ago now, we were able to be like, hey, here's an offer. We need 5 people to jump on a call with. We got 20 answers. At that time, that saved our business because we gathered so much feedback from that. But it was after publishing a ton. With the podcast, same thing. Now with the podcast, each episode publishes about 20 to 30 pieces of content. So a lot of data that we can grab on the back end to see what people are resonating with and then create more based on that, right? So there's different levels to what we're doing. So any questions so far on the publishing pyramid? If not, you can drop them in the chat, but the worksheet has a couple more elements and actually space for you to write these things out.
All right, I'm back here in the studio. Wasn't that awesome or what? Okay, this is, again, the first 20 minutes. If you want to listen to the second one, which we actually go into the 6 phases of production, maybe a little bit more advanced, but we're happy to share it. So let me know in the DMs. You can go at BIZBROS Co on Instagram and send me a message. Hey, Luis, we want that second part published. We're happy to share it. For the first part here, this framework is what allowed us to get unstuck from not publishing and moving the things forward. So pay attention to those 4 elements. The messaging, like how consistent can you be with that message based on your capacity or your team capacity? And then how can we connect it to getting the resources so you can then circle back and move the machine forward? Again, we started with Facebook Lives. Now we have this show that is syndicated and the content is multiplied off of it. But again, we use the same framework. So if you're struggling with any of those 4 areas, go ahead and revisit your own process. See what is that one thing that I can change to move the thing forward. And if you need a little extra help, we're always happy to help. Click the links below, connect with us, and we're happy to jump on a call and serve you and help you and see how we can move the needle forward. Awesome, guys. Have an amazing rest of your week. Let's go.